Yes, people, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another edition of the London Divide, North versus South. And it was a good midweek for the two London-based sides. Chelsea and Arsenal both progressing to the last 16 of the Carabao Cup. And for the Blues, a goal and a win, something that's been in very short supply this season. And we finally got our goal of the month sorted for September. Nicolas Jackson wins. Congratulations to him. The only goal we scored this month. But we take it. We move on. We hope it's a bit of a confidence boost. Obviously, Ben Chilwell picking up another hamstring injury is not ideal. Arsenal, on the other hand, getting a 1-0 win at Brentford as well. They march on. Obviously, the 2-2s all in their North London derby. Probably not what they were looking for last weekend. But a trip to Bournemouth this weekend coming up for the Gunners, whilst the Blues head to Fulham on Monday night for another London derby themselves. There's loads and loads to dive into, as always. The Carabao Cup, Arsenal, Raya, the new number one potentially. What's going on with that situation there? Chelsea getting a win. Can that be the kickstart for Pochettino and the boys? So, guys, make sure you smash the likes on the stream. Subscribe to the channel if you're new round here. And let's dive right into it, people. Do you know what, mate? We're gonna start with Chelsea this week because we've actually won a game of football. So I think I don't want to shy away from it. I want to enjoy the moment, mate. Obviously 1-0 win against Brighton at Stamford Bridge. Now, did I shamelessly celebrate it? Absolutely, mate. Do you know what? That was our 8th win of 2023. How mad is that, by the way? 8 wins this year. That was our 8th one. So we got to enjoy that. I'll be honest, it wasn't the best of games. We were horrendous in the first half. Second half, we got better. And we took the goal. We managed the game well, defended well. Probably should have had another couple of goals. Missed another chance, which is same old. And then some shocking officiating as well. A clear onside was given as offside, but there's no VAR this week. Doesn't matter if there's VAR or no VAR. The officiating is in the bin in this country. It's horrendous. But yeah, mate, I was delighted with it. I thought Cole Palmer was superb last night, playing at number 10. Look, got that freedom there, which was great. Mudryk again coming on leaps and bounds, more confidence from him. Third start on a row. Cucurella was very good. There are positives to take. Now, I'm not getting overly carried away. We've won one game in the Carabao Cup third round. We've got to start doing it in the league, but it's going to be a big confidence boost. I mean, Willie, from your perspective, mate, I'm not expecting you to have watched any of Chelsea versus Brighton last night. But when you're struggling as a side, you know, Arsenal have been there in the past as well. Like, just sort of a scrappy win in the cup, you know, you take it. It can be a big springboard, a massive confidence boost to the whole group. Do you think that for Chelsea, like myself, that this gives me confidence, a bit more confidence going into the Fulham game on Monday? But do you think like a win like that can be a turning point when, you know, as a group you've been playing well, but it's not quite fallen for you? Do you think this could be the catalyst that Chelsea potentially need, or do you think it's going to take maybe a little bit more than that?
Yeah, I wouldn't go as far to say it will be a catalyst, but having said that, like, you needed to win that because it just gives Pochettino and the players just a bit of breathing room. Because can you imagine if you lost last night and then it's just another few days of like moaning and speculation before your game on Monday. So yeah, I wouldn't go as far as say it's a catalyst to kick on to bigger and better things, but my God, you needed to win because it just gives a bit of breathing room and like the feel good around the training ground, you know, and like it was a decent Brighton team. They had Matoma played, didn't he? And Pedro played. Yeah,
Matoma. They started with Matoma, João Pedro, and Ansu Fati as their front three. So I mean, they made a few changes themselves, but like it wasn't like a full-on reserve side from them.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm sure, like with any side, get a bit of a buzz around the training ground. Like it's better than it probably puts you in good stead going into Monday. So yeah, you boys needed that.
Mate, we desperately needed it. Mate, I wanted to talk about Mudryk briefly because we chatted about it a few weeks back now on one of the first shows. And, you know, me and you were both saying that, you know, there's ability there. The kid just needs a chance. He needs some trust from the manager. He's now had that. He's now getting that chance. He started 3 games on the spin and he's been good in all 3 of those games. Away at Bournemouth, despite being subbed off first. Second half performance dips, but everything good from Chelsea in that first half. All the big chances came through him. Then again, at home to Villa, he was good. You know, direct, takes players on, makes chances happen. If we had people that were alive and alert in the box or could finish, he could have easily had a couple of assists in that game. And then we move on to, again, last night, a good performance, gets a standing ovation from the crowd. You know, things are starting to come together from him. I don't want to say he's about to explode, but I feel like we're on the cusp of something here. Pochettino is obviously trusts him now, is building his confidence up. He's had a run of games. And the kid has definitely made big progress. I mean, are you surprised by his improvements, or do you think, like, with a player of his attributes and kind of what you've seen of him, it was only a matter of time before things started to click into gear for him?
Yeah, I think it's always been a matter of time, because I said it before. He's got quality. There's good reason why, from my point of view, there's good reason if Arteta wants a player, there's a good reason for it. His talent IDs tend to be pretty good. So I was gutted that we missed out on Mudryk. The price tag carries so much weight, doesn't it? And like, he's a young kid, so it was never going to click straight away. So from an Arsenal fan's point of view, I think Mudryk will come good, and I would say it's good to see, because obviously he's a Chelsea player, and I don't wish success on Chelsea. But for the player's point of view, for you as fans, it's probably good to see some green shoots that he's starting to feel more settled. And I'm sure the more settled he feels, the more loved he feels, the more comfortable he feels, you're going to get the best out of him, right? So if you're starting to see some signs, then that's good. I fully back he's going to be a quality player.
Yeah.
Like, he is a quality player. As I said, I'll go back to the point, and I'll harper on since day one. Arteta and Edu have got a lot of signings right, and they were all in for Mudryk. Obviously, Chelsea blew it out of the water with a crazy fee, but the fact that they identified him, there's a player in there, and he's starting to show that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it was big for him. And Cole Palmer, another lad who's got a lot of ability. First start last night for Chelsea. Obviously, he's come off the bench in his previous 3 games, and he's looked really promising, really bright. Played in that number 10 role. He was just exceptional. You know, like it's so refreshing to see a player that doesn't shy away from the ball and always looks to make something happen when he gets on the ball. I mean, again, it's important not to overhype these players, but he's had a really impressive start to his Chelsea career in the 4 appearances that he's had. And with Nkunku out injured now, he should be starting in that number 10 position for the foreseeable future until he comes back. You know, I've been really impressed with him. I like what he does. He's got a great first touch. He's got a great eye for a pass. How impressed have you been by Cole Palmer? Again, I'm not suggesting you've watched loads of him at Chelsea, mate, but I mean, what do you like him as a footballer? And are you surprised to see him kind of starting to do well at Chelsea?
No, I think, again, Guardiola education is massive. Like, if anyone's gone through those years and seasons, even though he hasn't, well, actually, he's played more than when he signed Chelsea. I think we said it. He's played a lot more for City. I think he's made over 40 appearances for City. So anyone that's played that much and has been day in, day out under Guardiola and their coaching staff, he's going to know what he's about, and he's going to be a good player. We saw it when Zinchenko and Jesus come to Arsenal, the impact they had. Obviously, they were a lot more experienced and had more under their belt than Cole Palmer, but the same applies. You know, it's going to take time for him to fit into Chelsea system. And look, you guys are in a position of trying to discover what's right at the club in general and where everyone fits together. So for him to hit the ground running, like you're saying, as I said, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't watched much of him. I only really watched the highlights of the game last night. But yeah, he's got quality. He's learned under Guardiola, and that's not a bad school to go to, is it?
Nice. Yeah, I mean, yeah, in terms of learning how to play the game, there's not many better to learn from. I mean, mate, just in terms of sort of where you kind of see Chelsea at right now. Again, we've still only got 1 win in the Premier League. This, like, last night, it did feel a little bit shameless, but we had to take it. But you know, it was so weird. It felt like we'd won like a cup final or something, or we'd got into a final of some sort of competition. Like, we'd been so starved and so deprived of goals, of winning football, that like everyone was just like, mate, I've never seen fans so happy to win a 3rd round Carabao Cup match. Like, it was something else. But I guess it gives you that belief. And but I just wanted to talk about the Carabao Cup in general. I mean, a lot of fans write it off. A lot of teams, you know, maybe aren't that bothered about it. But for me, like for Chelsea as well, like I've always maintained we've got to take this seriously this season. You know, I think we should always take all cup competitions seriously, but particularly of no Europe, we're not going to win the league. The FA Cup's going to be a tough ask. The Carabao Cup, with how the draws opened up now as well, we've got Blackburn Rovers at home in the next round. You're then into the quarterfinals if you progress in that. You've got 2 all Premier League ties at least, with Arsenal, West Ham, and Man United, Newcastle. So 2 big Premier League teams are going out in the next round. And things start to open up a little bit. But when we've not won a domestic trophy since 2017, and it's a new group of players, a young group of players who not many of them have won stuff, and a new manager who hasn't won a trophy in England. This is really, really important. I mean, maybe it's more important for Chelsea than it is for Arsenal, but do you see what I'm getting at? How, like, I mean, some people, like, I'll get mocked in the comments on Chelsea Fan TV last night about saying how important the Carabao Cup is for Chelsea this season. But, like, do you get where I'm coming from? Like, when you've not won anything as a group and you're a group of young players who haven't won the most in their career so far, and with a manager like Pochettino who has won stuff but not in England, this represents the first chance to win something, and of course, draw dependent, probably the easiest trophy to win.
Yeah, I think, well, you have to. You haven't got Europe, so you can't. You're not in a position where you need to neglect any cup competition. And I think the fact that City got dumped out last night,
massive,
it's wide open for someone to go and win it. You know, it won't take much. You're not far away from winning that competition, because historically, I know they haven't won it the last couple of years, but before they won it 3 in a row, didn't they? And it was just a bit frustrating because teams rotate a bit in the Carabao Cup, and then you come up against a 65% City side and they still blow you out of the water. So from Chelsea's point of view, Europe, absolutely. Like FA Cup, Carabao Cup, you should be going all in on. Like, I would, if I was a Chelsea fan, I'd want to be seeing the strongest side out in both cup competitions, because there is absolutely no reason to be resting players and rotating. Who did Chelsea draw in the next round? Say that again.
Blackburn at Stamford Bridge.
Well, yeah, there you go. So, like, if you obviously expect to go through that, and then obviously you're only a couple of games away.
Yeah. It really isn't far away. I mean, we'll come back to Chelsea a little bit later on, but mate, obviously for you boys, a slightly tougher cup. Well, maybe not a slightly. Well, maybe a little bit of a tougher cup tie, I suppose. Away at Brentford last night, a 1-0 win. Arteta rung the changes. Reece Nelson obviously getting the goal. Aaron Ramsdale back in the sticks. We got a little bit to unpack on certain players there, but just your thoughts on the overall performance, mate, and for Arsenal, how important is the Carabao Cup this season?
Yeah, I'd say for Arsenal, if you compare it to Chelsea, it's a less important competition, because obviously we've got Champions League, Premier League are the priorities. When you're in the Champions League, then that's huge. But again, my perspective on the Carabao Cup changed last night when Newcastle beat City 1-0. I was like, oh my God, City aren't in it. So from an Arsenal fan's point of view, you're thinking we're the favourites, right? We finished second in the league last season. We should be going on to hopefully win that competition. That's not how it works. There's other good teams in it. So I want to see us do well in the Carabao Cup. From a fan's point of view, potential trip to Wembley, you love it. But last night was really pleasing because we rotated heavily. Brentford put out what was pretty close to their first team, and we put in what was a really good away performance, kept a clean sheet, solid at the back, rode out some attacks from Brentford, which was expected because they had a good side out. And it was really good to see Reece Nelson get on the score sheet, and if we were more clinical, we could have scored 1 or 2 more. So really pleased to get through. Draw West Ham away in the next round, which will be a similar kind of level of tie. It's a tough one, but then Brentford away was a tough one, and it's a really good opportunity for every Premier League side to get a trophy under their belt there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I just wanted to touch on a couple of things. I'll get to the goalkeeping situation a little bit later on. Reece Nelson, obviously, he's not a regular starter for Arsenal, but he signed a new deal. I think in the summer, wasn't it? He signed a new deal, 4-year contract.
Yeah.
So obviously the club, Arteta, clearly likes him. He doesn't play that much. You a fan of his? How important do you see his role being this season? Because again, he's someone that goes under the radar a little bit. He pops up with important goals, of the winner against Bournemouth, of course, late on last season, to name one. I mean, are you a fan of his? Do you see him being an important contributor? Were you happy to see him get the new contract? Where do you stand with Reece Nelson?
Yeah, I love Reece. I've always thought he's really, really top quality. He was one of the first. Like, he broke onto the scene really young, and he was like always the star of his kind of age group. And he's been around the squad for a long time now. You call him young, but he's been around the first team for a long while. And I think there were quite a lot of fans that were making the case that he could have started and maybe should have started against Tottenham on the left, rather than shift Jesus out to the left to accommodate Nketiah up front. Could have played Reece on the left and played Jesus through the middle. And I think Reece Nelson is making a pretty good case for a starting position in the Premier League with the injuries to Trossard and Martinelli at the moment. I don't think that's what will happen against Bournemouth on Saturday, but I think he potentially deserves the opportunity. He was electric last night, to be fair. Like really, really good. Nice finish for the goal and did some really, really good stuff otherwise. He's technically good. He's exciting. He tracks hard. He's fit. He presses well. And he showed he can be clutch, like with the winner against Bournemouth last season under pressure. So really good talent for us, and I hope he gets more opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, another guy that come in that, Arteta's decision again, he gave him the number 10 shirt, offered him a new contract with a big pay rise. Emile Smith Rowe, first start in a long, long time, been out injured, obviously. There was reported interest in the summer for his signature. We were sniffing around actually as well. I don't know how far that interest materializes. Actually, I think a bid did go in actually for him from us, if I remember rightly. But how do you see his future at Arsenal? Because when everyone's fit, it doesn't look, for me personally, looking from the outside, obviously you'll know a lot better than me, but I don't really see how he plays regularly. I mean, can you see Smith Rowe kind of being able to make something of his Arsenal career? Or do you think, with everyone fit, Jesus, Martinelli, Odegaard, Saka, Trossard, Havertz, etc. Maybe if you if you were to sign Ivan Toney in January, potentially, if that were to happen, like, how do you see Smith Rowe's future at Arsenal? Because he was given that number 10 and he was given the new contract with a big pay rise, and I don't really see where he's going to play.
Yeah, I think Smith Rowe's issue at Arsenal recently has been, well, obviously his injuries, but his general fitness. I don't think the club and Arteta have been, he's not as fit as they want him to be, because a big part of Arteta's tactics is built around obviously pressing and hard work, etc. And I don't think Smith Rowe's been able to do that. I think quality-wise, Arteta loves him, and he offers something that we don't really have, like that real direct approach, ball carrying. He could pick the ball up, and in that season where he really shone, he could pick the ball up from midfield, literally carry it, drive, and get shots away on goal. And that's something that we do lack a bit when you look at the team centrally. You got Martinelli out on the wing, Saka out on the wing. Smith Rowe can offer it from the centre of the pitch, and he showed glimpses of that again last night. So I really hope he can get to where he needs to be fitness-wise. He can show that he can do the hard work, because ability-wise, there's absolutely no question about him. He's literally shown that in the Premier League, hasn't he? He's scored goals, he's got assists. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. Arteta's comments were really interesting. He kind of alluded to what I've just said, saying, look, Smith Rowe offers us something we don't have. So, yeah. And it's something that we kind of lack in the squad, and he can fill that void, that, like I said, pick the ball up, drive at goal, take people on, carry the ball. So I really hope it works out for him, because I think I said on the last episode, if we're not going to use him, we might as well have sold him in the summer, because you could have picked up a decent fee for Smith Rowe. We didn't sell him, which says to me, at a time where we needed to raise funds, it says like Arteta and the club must think he's got a future, because otherwise you would have picked up 30-40 mil for him and you've been laughing.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, obviously he's going to want to play football. He's going to want to play more than he's currently playing. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how that dynamic works out over the course of the season. And these injuries to Martinelli, to Trossard, might be his opportunity to get in the side. It's always the case in football. Like, one person's misfortunes, another person's opportunity. Yeah. It's the same with us at Chelsea. Chilwell picking up another hamstring injury, is third in less than a year. Cucurella, who had a very good game last night, suddenly he might get a little bit of a run in the side. It's just kind of the way it goes in football. Obviously, you're not wishing people to get injured, but injuries in an area where you play, you got to take advantage of it. You have to. But by the way, guys, let's keep running the likes up, people. Nowhere near enough likes at this point in time. Let's get this to at least 50 likes minimum. So click that thumb button. It's free. It supports the channel. It boosts it to more people. So please make sure you do run those likes up, guys. Let's get to at least 50 people. No excuses for that not to happen. And hit that subscribe button if you are new around here as well. And mate, let's dive into the big talking point with Arsenal, the goalkeeping situation. I remember a couple of weeks back we discussed it. We weren't really sure. Like, Raya's come in. He hadn't played yet before the Everton game. We're thinking, when's he going to get a chance? That Everton game he did start. He then started the Champions League game as well and the North London derby. Obviously out for the League Cup. I don't think we read too much into that. But Arteta, for me, I think it's clear as day, in my opinion. He's made his decision now. You know, you don't bring in a goalkeeper like David Raya to be a number 2. You've brought him in because you think he's better than Aaron Ramsdale and you think he's better suited to what you want from your goalkeeper. That surely has to be the way that he's looking at it. But when I look at it, because we were linked with David Raya over the summer as well, and I have to look at it, and obviously Arteta knows a lot more than I do, but a similar situation to us, like with Robert Sanchez coming in. Is Robert Sanchez is Robert Sanchez a massive upgrade on Kepa? In certain aspects of the game, absolutely. As an overall package, I'd probably say he might be slightly better, but it's not like the massive sort of upgrade you'd be looking for in the goalkeeping position. I look at it the same with Ramsdale and Raya. I think Raya's a good goalkeeper, and he'll be better at Ramsdale at certain parts of the game, and Ramsdale will be better at other parts of the game than Raya. Is Raya miles better in every aspect of the game than Ramsdale? I personally don't think so. I think he might, maybe he's a little bit better, but I don't think there's levels to it. But Arteta's obviously seen that. And mate, now you've seen Raya in action for 3 games. Do you agree with me? Do you think it's pretty clear now that Raya is that number 1 and Ramsdale is just going to have to hope that he plays crap or gets injured to get a run in the side again?
Yeah, I reckon so. Unless Arteta absolutely throws a curveball and goes and starts Ramsdale Saturday, which is unlikely. I think, he's played his hand, isn't he? 3 big games, or the big games in the Champions League, and then the Spurs game, Raya gets both of them. I said to you before, I'm not going to lie, when I looked in the summer, the goalkeeper was not a situation I thought we needed to address. You know, I was not fussed around the goalkeeper. I was happy with Ramsdale. And I just think the opportunity arose to sign Raya. The club like him. The goalkeeping coach we've got is very closely linked with David Raya. So all that happened. Now, what I think did happen, right? So Ramsdale made some honkers last season. Like, one that might stand out was the Southampton pass.
In the first minute.
Yeah, where he literally passed it like absolute stinker in again. Now, I think Ramsdale lost some trust from Arteta last season based on a few errors. And Arteta has just been ruthless. We got the chance to sign a goalkeeper and he said, right, I'm doing it. You know, I tend to agree with you, mate. Ramsdale showed last night he's quality. There's no doubt about that. But I think he lost the trust of the manager a bit. He showed last night he's not going to go down without a fight. He was man of the match last night, potentially had a really good game, made a couple of really good saves. But I think it's Raya's position. And like you were just saying about Smith Rowe, Ramsdale might just have to bide his time now and wait for another opportunity to arise. And when it does come, grasp it with both hands.
I mean, how's it gone down amongst Arsenal fans? Because obviously it's been a conversation point amongst the media, amongst, you know, all fans, obviously particularly amongst Arsenal fans about, you know, what was going to happen. It now seems clear what the decision is. I mean, what's been the reaction to it amongst Arsenal fans? Are people supportive of it? Do people think Ramsdale's been treated pretty harshly? Where do Arsenal fans sit on it?
Yeah, I'll be honest. It hasn't really caused too much of a stir, to be honest. Like, you know what Arsenal fans can be like. We can have like internal fights and arguments about all sorts. But Raya Ramsdale, I think the general consensus has been, look, if we've got 2 top quality goalkeepers, may the best man win, and it's going to benefit the club because whatever happens, we started to show it last. It started to show last night. Ultimately, Raya come in. Ramsdale was clearly out with a point to prove last night, and it benefited us because he had a really good game. Now, if Raya starts Saturday, I'm sure he's going out against Bournemouth thinking, right, I've got to put in a 9 out of 10 here to prove that why I deserve the number 1. So fans are pretty comfortable because I think no matter what it looks like from the outside, it's going to end up with us having a top goalkeeper. So yeah, it's not caused too much of a stir, and that's quite interesting because Ramsdale is a fan favourite.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at it. I think someone like Aaron Ramsdale, who is good enough to be a number 1 goalkeeper at a lot of teams. He obviously made some mistakes last season, sure, but was it enough for him to lose his number one position? But then again, on the flip side, if you want to improve as a team and you want to back your manager, and the manager thinks that position needs to be improved and there's a better option out there, it's ruthless at the top. You've got to make decisions like that to potentially move forward and try and bridge the gap. We saw when Pep first arrived at Man City, just got rid of Joe Hart instantly. You live and die by these decisions. Whether this is going to ultimately end up being the right decision or not, we'll have to wait and see. But Arteta makes these decisions, and you back the manager in the market, and if it comes up trumps, great. If it doesn't, then you've just got to take that criticism on the chin. But I am surprised. I mean, and for Ramsdale himself, he's obviously got to be gutted about it because he's not necessarily done anything wrong per se. I was saying to you before we started recording, I cannot see a situation how Ramsdale and Raya are both here next season. Given how things have gone, I know a lot can change in football, but as it stands right now, mate, for me, I literally cannot see any way in which Aaron Ramsdale is playing for Arsenal next season.
Yeah, if you put me on the spot now, I tend to agree. I just saw someone in the comments was saying Brentford might not sell. Like, this is a permanent deal.
It's an obligation, isn't it? Yeah.
It was a loan deal done to suit both clubs financially, but it will be made permanent. That's pretty set in stone. So I agree with you. No matter how revolutionary Arteta thinks he might be, and what he said in press conference, I just don't see a situation where you have two number ones of that caliber. And at this point in time, it looks like Raya's winning the race. I mean, there's a lot of football to play. You never know. Ramsdale could get the shirt back, but I'd say the most likely situation is Raya becomes Arsenal's first choice goalkeeper. Ramsdale leaves, and we obviously sign another backup goalkeeper. Basically, what happened to Ramsdale and Leno. At the same time, when Bernd Leno was Arsenal's goalkeeper, no one was calling for him to be replaced. We signed Ramsdale out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden Leno's out the door to Fulham, and he's still doing how he's had a great start to the season at Fulham, hasn't he? He's still a top goalkeeper. So it's the same situation's happened. Look, one day we might look stupid, right? And clubs might have two number ones that rotate, but I just don't see it happening, mate. I agree with you.
Oh, mate, I don't see it. I don't see it happening either. I just don't. I just think, like, obviously you have strength in depth and quality in depth all over the pitch. And you could, on the one hand, you would be like, well, why would it be any different with your goalkeepers? But a goalkeeper is such a specialized position. Like, it's one of them that you don't want to be rotating that position on a regular basis. You want your number one, and that's your set number one, maybe apart from cup competition, whether it's a Carabao Cup or an FA Cup. You have your cup goalkeeper and you have your league and your Champions League keeper. Like, that's kind of how it's always been. Now, of course, is Arteta onto something revolutionary? Maybe, maybe not. But look, I just don't see it. I don't think that there's a reason why this sort of thing hasn't happened before, because it doesn't work. We had it at Chelsea towards the end of Petr Cech's career. We had Cech and Courtois for a season. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And we obviously shipped him off to you boys. But look, there's a reason it doesn't work, in my opinion. And I think for Ramsdale, a lot can change in football. But as it stands right now, I just can't see how he's there. And look, I'd probably say Ramsdale has been treated harshly, but sport at the top level is harsh. It's ruthless.
And also, you say he's been treated harshly. Like, if you're being cold, he did make some. I said before, he made some really, really bad mistakes last season.
Would you say they were league? Would you go as far as saying they were potentially title costing errors, or is that a bit too far?
That's probably a bit too far, because you can't put it all on him. And he also saved us. So, like at Anfield, for example, he basically saved us points there. So it does work both ways. But the stats back up as well. The stats don't look good for him last season. And look, this is coming from someone that I love, Ramsdale. His personality is massive, and in those big away games, it really counts for a lot. But there's a reason why Arteta and the club got Raya, and Raya's stats show how good he is as a goalkeeper. Like, I don't think we need to even discuss Raya's ability, right? He's been brilliant for Brentford.
Yes.
And I just think that, for me, that's why it's happened. He made some mistakes. The manager lost a bit of trust in him. And it's been pretty ruthless, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's harsh. Like you said, if you're competing at the top of Premier League, your place is going to be under threat.
Yeah, it's ruthless. And when you're at top clubs, you've got to expect like the club to be trying upgrading on your positions. That's just unfortunately the way it goes, and it's down to you to make sure that you don't give a manager the decision to go out and get someone better by keeping your performances to the top level. But I mean, yeah, look, it's an interesting one. We're going to have to wait and see how Raya does throughout the rest of the season. But it looks like he has got that number one. He's got that number one.
I did
shirt.
see Chelsea. I saw some the moment Ramsdale got left out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I saw a Chelsea link like literally within 24 hours.
Yeah, I don't know if they just. I don't know if they just like because we have bought so many players. I don't know if it's just like literally they just make it up in terms of someone's lost their place in the team, could leave. Let's just bang a Chelsea link out.
Let's just bang a Chelsea article out.
Hey, honestly, I don't want to discredit all journalists, but to me it seems like we just bought 2 goalkeepers this summer.
Yeah, I know.
Like, why are we suddenly going to go and buy Aaron Ramsdale? Like people, I think people just use Chelsea for a cheap click these days. Understandably so sometimes, but it's the way it is. I mean, let's take it back to Chelsea. We go to Fulham on Monday night. That's a tough game. Fulham away is not easy. We lost there last season. We lost at most places last season, but these games are difficult. But mate, it's just a bit of a weird stat, but how important do you think this could be? And it might not be important at all, but of our next 6 games, only one of those is outside of London, and that is Burnley away in a couple of weeks. So how important do you think that might be? We've got games at home, and all our away games are in London in the next 6. Do you think that plays? Do you think that's important? Do you think that plays any part at all?
I don't know. When the thing is, you say they're inside London, but they're against Arsenal, Brentford, Spurs, City,
and Fulham.
And Fulham. They're still tough fixtures. I guess it means a bit more time on the training. Well, not even that. It's not even time on the training. You're not travelling far to the away games when they are away. But I guess if players feel a bit more settled, then it's good. But it's not like your home form has been rocking or anything, has it? And as I said, those away games coming to Arsenal and going to Spurs are going to be 2 really tough fixtures for you, aren't they? So I don't think it will make a difference. It's a brutal run. I can't believe how tough that fixture run is.
Yeah, mate, it's kind of mad. It is. It's like every time I look at it or see it just gets worse and worse. And it's obviously that coupled with the fact that the start to the season hasn't been the best either. It just makes that a little bit worse. But do you know what? Like, in a weird sort of way, and I'm not saying this will happen, but in a weird sort of way, those kind of tough runs could be the making of this team. Like, it really could be. Like, we could go out and surprise it. I'm not going to say we're about to go and win all of them, but we could go out and surprise a few people and win a few of those games that people don't expect us to.
Well, on paper, the next 2 are huge, right? Because if you can get, let's say, worst case, you get 4 points out of 6 from Fulham and Burnley.
Oh, mate, I'd take that right now. I'll take it
exactly.
Right now.
Then you get a bit of breathing room coming to the Emirates, right?
No, it's at home. We're at Stamford Bridge for that one.
Sorry,
yeah.
You get a bit of breathing room when we go to Chelsea. And look, again, you're at home, so it's a home game, so you've got home advantage. But if you did drop
owned up the last few seasons at Stamford Bridge.
We have at the Bridge, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you drop points in that, if you pick up points against Fulham and Burnley, like, you get a bit of breathing room, and then you're back at home against Brentford, which if you're in a half decent form. So you're right, there is a way you can navigate through it, but mate, there is also a way where you drop more points and then the pressure on points.
There's legitimately a situation where we could lose 4 or 5 of those games, like 100%.
Yeah, Burnley's the one. Burnley. You want.
The thing is, though, like, do you know what the thing with the Burnley game is, right? I know they're crap, but a little bit. I watched them against United on last Friday, and they actually played some all right stuff. They've just got no quality in the final third of the pitch. And you could say the same for us, a team that both sides that struggle to score goals. But we've got to get past Fulham first, which is going to be a tough one. I mean,
yeah, that will be a tough one. They're good.
But Fulham aren't as good as they were last year. They've not really replaced Mitrovic's goals, but they're still a decent side. I mean, mate, they came to the Emirates and got a point from you. I don't know if you were at that game or not, but I mean, what threats do you think Fulham pose? Having obviously played them this season, do you think they could cause us a few problems?
I do. I think Fulham. You just picture it now, can't you? At the Craven Cottage, under lights on a Monday, everyone's already played. All eyes, Monday Night Football. All eyes are on Chelsea. Like, again, this is coming just from a bit of a perception point of view, but Fulham under lights on TV, when eyes are on them, they always tend to kind of turn up and play quite well. Two players that stand out for me, obviously the keeper, Bernd Leno, said, I know him very well, was our number one and never let us down. He's had a really good start to the season. And Polina in midfield, central midfielder, is a top player, and there's a lot of clubs that were flirting around him but before he signed his new deal. He signed that new long-term contract recently, didn't he?
Yeah.
So he's really settled in a good place. So they're the two to watch for me. It's going to be a tough fixture. As I said, they've struggled recently, but they're a good side, and that Monday night slot's going to be tough, I think.
Mate, I totally agree. It's one of those where I'm not saying it's not an easy game at all, but it's one of those, as a Chelsea side, if we're going to start winning some games, like you've got to be winning these games. Like, I mean, the Champions League qualification is hanging by a thread already. Like, it's hanging by a thread. We've got to win these next two games. I've been saying it's been must win since Bournemouth. We didn't beat Bournemouth. We lost to Aston Villa. Yes, we beat Brighton in the cup, but we've got to win these next two. It's as simple as that. I mean, how much pressure do you think Poch is under, mate? Because for me, obviously, you're always under pressure as a Chelsea manager, but I think he's got time on his side. The board are looking for something long term. I don't think you can, as a ownership, set up this project, which is buying young players with a view to being good in the future, and then get rid of a manager potentially because they've not achieved results in the short term, when you've set up the project to not be conducive to short-term success. We should be doing much better than we're doing, absolutely. But if you're going down this route, then you have to give the manager time, because I don't care what manager's in charge of this Chelsea side. If it was Pep Guardiola, for example, I think there would still be struggles, because it's so many new players to Ben, and it's so many young players that are inexperienced and inconsistent. Like, if you're picking that route to go down as an ownership group, then by default you have to give the manager time, and you have to believe in the project that you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. You do. I think as a Chelsea manager, you're always under the pump, aren't you? Like, we've spoken about this before, the model that Chelsea have operated under, you're only ever like a few defeats away from disaster. And it's got to be a complete change of thinking. You've got to just back him. Like, I completely agree with what you say. You got to give him time. You have to, whether he can deliver what he needs to deliver. And look, the jury's out on Pochettino at the moment, because like even last night I saw, didn't he pick 3 left backs or something? I saw
we had 3 left backs. We went in the back 3 though. So we had Cucurella playing left centre back, Chilwell playing left wing back, and then Martson was playing right wing.
Yeah. So some of his, I think you'll be the first to admit he's made some like questionable calls in the season already.
Yeah.
But I guess got to get some players back fit. Reece James back soon, isn't he? That'd be quite important for you, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, he's not going to be. I mean, they're targeting the Arsenal game for his return, but
really,
yeah, it's like we're in a position where we don't need to be rushing Reece James back, because we've got Malagusto, who's done very well. Yes, he's out at the moment, but we don't need to be rushing James back. That for me would be a big mistake. But I mean, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, how high? I think I've asked you this before, but I mean, how high do you rate Pochettino? Because I swear he was linked with Arsenal as well in the past. Maybe after Emery left, was it, or after Wenger left? At one point, he was definitely linked with it, wasn't it? I mean, what do you make of him as a manager? Do you like him? Because he's obviously well respected in the game, but some people just aren't having him.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the one Tottenham team in my lifetime that I've really not feared, but really looked at and been scared that they could actually do something of substance was Pochettino's Tottenham. And I was buzzing when they sacked him. That was the best side Spurs have had in my lifetime by far. They're doing all right at the moment under Ange. They've shown a few signs of playing some decent football, whatever. But that Pochettino side over a long period of time was quality, and that was his side. So I've always respected Pochettino after he delivered that, as much as I hated him when he was at Tottenham. And there were Arsenal fans, and you know what? I flirted with the idea of having him at Arsenal when he was kind of available and we were in the Emery era. So yeah, I rate him. I think he's a very good manager, and I think you got when's Nkunku back?
Mate, December or January is long.
So that's proper long term, right? Yeah, because that's obviously a killer. He's just got to be back. You got to see what he can do. And look, we might be sitting here at Christmas talking about that brutal run for Chelsea that just hasn't gone his way. But you know, he needs that time. He needs time to try and implement what he can do. You can't do that over a few games.
No, you absolutely can't. I mean, mate, we'll come back to this in a sec, but I really look ahead to Arsenal's trip to Bournemouth. Obviously, Bournemouth are yet to win this season. They've got a new manager in, new backing with the American owners, spent a lot of money this summer by their standards. It's not really going so well for them, but it is still a tricky place to go. It is a tricky place to go. And Chelsea have got injuries, admittedly more than Arsenal. But, you know, Arsenal that are going on about their strength in depth and their squad depth, right? This injury list is not great for the moment, you know. I mean, I don't know if Saka's definitely out for Bournemouth, but Rice, Trossard, Martinelli, Partey, and we know Timber's out. That's a lot of big players missing, mate. Like, that's...
Yeah, what I would say on that list is I expect Saka to start on the weekend. Rice was only came off at half-time. They said Rice is absolutely fine. Martinelli and Trossard are very close, as is Partey. Timber's the only long-term. So although it's a list of some pretty much starters, most of them will be back pretty soon. And to be honest, I'd expect Saka and hopefully Rice to start on Saturday, and then Trossard and Martinelli.
On Saka, I think it's an interesting conversation point, right? And I've seen in Arsenal, amongst Arsenal fans, etc. And I've been on other shows that people have been speaking about it. And this thing about Saka being burnt out, do you think that Arteta's burning out Saka? Is he starting way too many games? I'm not saying it's just all on Arteta. Gareth Southgate's not helping the cause. Does he really need to be subbed on against Scotland? Does he need to be starting these qualifying games against Ukraine? For that's obviously not helping. But have you noticed in Saka's game that he's looking a bit tired? You know, that the kind of picking up a few little niggling injuries here and there. Do you think he's playing too many games and there's a risk of burning him out?
No, I don't. I think you've got to be able to perform at the top level consistently twice a week, 3 times, well, however you want to look at it, weekend, midweek, weekend. You know, as long as the club are managing him effectively off the pitch and his rehab and his rest off the pitch. Take De Bruyne, for example. I've just pulled this up take Kevin De Bruyne, who's been best player in the Premier League over the last however many years, you know. Over X amount of seasons since 2015 for City, 41, 49, 52, 32, 48, 40, 44, 49 games. You know, plus playing all the games for Belgium.
Yeah,
Saka has to be able to do that, and Arteta said that. You know, you've got the amount that's invested in the rehab team, the physio team, the analysis. They're not going to burn Saka out. You know, they're going to be monitoring his body literally on a minute by minute basis throughout his whole career. He's going to pick up the odd injury here and there, but I think conditioning the body to get used to playing all the time is the way you stay fit, right? The body gets used to it.
I would agree. So you're just not having that at all. I mean, do you understand where certain fans might be coming from with that, or do you just think it's a bit of a non-starter?
No, I think it's a non-starter. The only case is like in the Spurs game, he probably could have taken him off 10 minutes earlier. In-game management and Arteta's in-game management can still be improved. He probably should have taken Saka off a bit earlier. I don't think that's necessarily going to have a long-term impact on his well-being and health, but that's just managing win games. And I think we might have been more likely to get a winner if Saka would have come off and I don't know, Smith Rowe would have gone on with some fresh legs. I think it's a non-starter. Look, the club will manage him, mate. They're not going to kill him at the age of early 20s. I
mean, how are you feeling about the trip to Bournemouth? Because obviously the draw against Spurs in the North London derby wasn't what you were looking for. Look, people have been saying Arsenal got a decent amount of points on the board for so far this season. The problem is Man City are perfect, and every time you drop points, it makes that little bit harder to be already however many points you are off the top after 6 games is probably not ideal if you're chasing the title. Of course, a lot can change in football, but this City team is just a machine. How have you assessed how Arsenal are playing, mate? Because I've seen a lot of people saying that Arsenal aren't really playing that well. But you are picking up some wins. I mean, where are you at with this Arsenal side right now? Like, do you think it? Look, do you think it's different to last season? Do you think Arteta's tried to change it a bit from last season in terms of how you're playing? Because I look at an Arsenal side now. I've never said it. I would never have said it with Arsenal sides before, that they've kind of got a belief and a spirit about them, where if they're always in a game, in my opinion, Whereas before you knew, like, if Arsenal were a couple of goals down, that they're finished, they're not coming back. Whereas now, if you're in that position, there's that belief that they can come back. Do you think Arteta's changed the team a little bit? And I don't mean personnel, but how he sets up tactically, how the side are playing. I don't know if it's a little bit less pleasing on the eye, but it's more efficient.
Yeah, I think that last bit sums it up. He's trying to make us more efficient, trying to make us completely dominant in games. You know how City get their wins when they're 1-0, 2-0, teams give up because they just get like passed to death, don't they? Because last season was a lot of our wins were a bit crazy, and like the United win, that's not how you want to win games. It's great for belief and team spirit, but you want to suffocate teams and dominate them, not rely on last-minute winners. Of course, things have changed since last season. Last season, no one gave us a hope of getting top four, and come February, people were talking about us winning the league. So it was an absolute crazy season that we rode, and it was a fantastic experience, and the expectation wasn't there. A lot of the narrative around Arsenal at the moment is all of a sudden we're at the top for last season, so the expectation's a lot higher, and a few fans are a bit disgruntled because we've not won every game and blown teams off the park. That was never going to happen. In all competitions, we're unbeaten, 2 draws, won the rest. Look, North London derby wasn't what we wanted, but mate, Arsenal v Tottenham or Tottenham v Arsenal is a fixture in itself that basically club form outside of that fixture is irrelevant. Yeah. Even when the Invincibles used to play a dead Spurs team, they would always turn up and it would be a tough game because the passion in that game is crazy. So it's not the end of the world. Couple of stinking errors. Agent Jorginho let us down.
Mate, Agent Jorginho.
That is what it is. But, mate, when you look at the bigger picture, we're doing fine. Of course we had to improve. We've got to keep getting better. But in terms of like how we're going, mate, I'm really happy. Really happy.
Do you believe you can win the league?
No, I don't, because of Manchester City. I've said this to you before. I do not. I would love to win the league. I've got that hope as a fan, but I don't believe we can win the league because Manchester City are a machine.
So rather than Arsenal not being good enough, you just think that City are too good?
Yeah, I don't think the gap between us and City has closed. I think City, if anything, are looking even better.
Yeah.
And Haaland is just
it's actually mad, isn't it? Because like when you think about Man City, they're not even a team that starts seasons well normally. Yet they've gone 6 for 6.
They're blowing everyone away. It's not, the games aren't even spectacles. They're just turning up.
Not even close.
No. They will slip up. They
lost last night in the cup, but again, exactly. But admittedly, they would have been in a similar situation to what Liverpool were in a few years back. I'm not saying they gave up on it, but they weren't going to win. No, but in terms of when they got the Club World Cup, obviously, from the Champions League, and they'll be in that same situation where they've got the first team out during the Club World Cup, and then on the same day, there's like a Carabao Cup quarter final or something. So you've got to play different manager and all the kids. Yeah. So them winning
the reason I've just like going like that is because I think, and it's teams have threatened for a couple of months to do it, but I'm looking at this City team and they could
do an Invincibles
potentially do. Yeah, I don't want to say it because it makes me sick. And you've taken. I really can't get the words out. It scares me.
But you know what,
I look at that City team, and I bloody hope we beat them at the Emirates when they come to the Emirates in
it's about a couple of weeks, isn't it? It's not far away.
On Sunday, because I don't know how they're going to lose. You just can't see them losing, can you?
Mate, you can't. But obviously, it's a long way to go. But you're exactly right. Look, a few games here and there might go wrong, but they're obviously out the cup and that. But you are right. An Invincible, realistically, I know an Invincibles is so hard now, given how competitive the Premier League is. Obviously, I'm not discrediting Arsenal's achievement back then, but the strength and depth in the league wasn't the same. But an Invincibles is all that's missing from this City team, really. I mean, it's not an essential, but mate, they could definitely do it.
They've got the ability, without a doubt. The Premier League impact comes into it. Like you just said, history has shown, no matter how good a team has been, there has always been a time like Liverpool slipped. Do you remember when Liverpool slipped up at Watford when they were on? And
yeah,
I think at that point, exactly, and then Watford blew them away at
Vicarage Road. You just have those games sometimes where you just turn up and
weird things happen.
Right. Weird things happen.
Hopefully, we'll do them in a week or so.
Well, mate, you need to because you're like, mate, you don't have a particularly good record against them at the Emirates. Like,
no, they beat us every time. Yeah.
Mate, I just wanted to talk to you about something Chelsea related. Thiago Silva, obviously didn't play last night, but there's a little bit of a conversation. I don't want to say a discourse around him in the Chelsea fan base, but there's a conversation doing the rounds that saying that maybe he shouldn't be starting for Chelsea. And a lot of people, he didn't play last night because he's rested. It's Carabao Cup, and he's obviously 39 years of age. But Disasi and Colwell were exceptional last night in the heart of the defence. Now, for the long-term interests of the club, it's probably better that the likes of Badiashile, Colwell, Disasi play because they're going to be here for many years to come, whereas Silva isn't. But Silva can help us achieve our goals this season. Now, it's a tricky one because he's an absolute legend. He's done so much in the game, an unbelievable centre-half. But he's played well this season, but he has been caught out a couple of times and has cost us goals. Namely against Aston Villa at the weekend, where he missed the tackle really high up the pitch and they were just straight in. He doesn't have many errors in him at all, but I mean, when you've got the quality of centre halves that Chelsea have got, and they need to be bedded in, they need minutes. There's not really much room to rotate. When you miss a game and someone else takes an opportunity, like that's all it can take sometimes. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be dropped for the next game against Fulham, but maybe that people are having that conversation. I mean, where do you stand on it? Do you think Chelsea should start to phase him out? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, you have to, don't you? He's nearly 40 years old. He's not the long term answer at centre half. He's been fantastic, but he's made a few mistakes. Didn't he give the ball away against, was it West Ham or Forest? He gave the ball away and then they.
Yeah, there's been a couple of games where he's fallen a little bit short.
And they scored. It cost a goal. So one mistake is a one-off. Like 2 or 3, I can understand why Chelsea fans, especially if you've got good young centre halves ready to take his place. Thing is, they're the future of the next few seasons, and if they're ready, there's no better time. But I guess it's hard because you lot have got such you love him to bits, don't you?
Oh, absolutely, mate. He's an absolute legend at the club. Honestly, mate,
exactly.
It's unbelievable the impact that he's had. We knew he was a top player, but I don't think anyone. I mean, I might be getting very carried away of myself here without even thinking of anyone. But I struggle to think of someone at that age that has come into the Premier League and had the impact that he's had. I think he signed when he was 36. Yeah. Like we thought honestly, mate, we thought when he signs we might get 1, maybe 2 seasons out of him, and he'll play a useful role for us. He's come in and he's been absolutely phenomenal. Like he's been ridiculous. Like you can count on one hand the amount of bad games he's had. I mean, basically he plays shit against West Brom twice. Other than that, there's been very few. But look, time catches up with everyone. But it's a tough one because I feel bad sitting here and saying maybe we should be looking to, maybe he shouldn't be playing every week. But you do have to have the conversations. Is it better for Chelsea in the long term to be playing Colwell as a centre back rather than a left back? Is Colwell playing left back so he can fit Silva in the team? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I definitely think the time is now. I think you just said you hope to get 1 season out of him. You've got more than that. You can still have your opinion, and you can still be you can still think of him really fondly. It doesn't tarnish what he's done, but there's no history of people or players in the Premier League at nearly 39, 40 years old performing week in, week out. It's never happened, has it? So yeah, you're better off using him selectively, and then you probably get better out of him as well. Fitness level,
yeah. I think in big games he could certainly be a use. Does he need to play every single game? I'm not sure he does. We'll have to wait and see. But mate, what are your thoughts on Levi Colwell, by the way? Because last night he finally played at centre back. He had a really good game. Mate, how highly do you rate him? Because I know Chelsea fans hype him up and have got really high hopes from him. He's a top defender. I think his loan spell at Brighton kind of opened him out to the wider eye. Mate, how good do you think he is?
Yeah, he's quality, isn't he? like good on the ball, comfortable, has got the experience now, even though he's a young player. I just think players like that, everyone just calm, you know. People just hype players up so much. In the modern day, it's
like Saliba.
Well, even Saliba. See how Arsenal looked after Saliba. You know,
he didn't play for 2 seasons, did he?
No, he went out, learnt his trade, and then came back, and I just think he's got bags of ability, and if Chelsea manage it right, he's going to be the future of the club for a long time. You know, left-footed centre half as well, which they're valuable in their own right. Left-footers, they can spread the play to the left, which managers really like. He's like passes the ball really well, comfortable. He's going to be a big part of Chelsea and England. It's just don't pile loads on him and slap. He's worth 80 million. He's worth 100 million. And then on the first mistake, people jump on him and want him out of the team, because if you look after him, he's got everything, hasn't he?
No, mate, he absolutely does. I mean, I would say that if things go right, then he could potentially be a future Chelsea captain. Obviously, Reece James being at the club might make it a little bit difficult for him, but he's certainly got the potential to go on and be part of that leadership group, whether it's a vice captain, whether it's a captain. Of course, we've got to keep our feet on the ground for sure, but there's a top player there. You know, I really like what I see from him. And look, he's been playing at left back this season, which doesn't suit his game at all. He's done well there. Considering, but you know, in the centre, he's just so much more effective. He really is a top player. So I really do hope that we see more of him there. It's just difficult. But as we were going on earlier, mate, sometimes top level sport, you've got to make ruthless decisions, and maybe a big decision that's coming Pochettino's way is I've got to get Levi Cole in at centre back. And if that means dropping Thiago Silva, I still love Silva. He's like, honestly, mate, he's one of my favourite. I never thought I'd have this affiliation with him when he comes to the club. But sometimes you just got to, I shouldn't really feel bad about saying it, but sometimes you've just got to try and move. You've got to move forwards. And
and that would have that'd go down well with the fans, because if Pochettino backs Levi Cole and it doesn't quite go right, you see what he's doing, right? He's trying to future-proof the club. He's giving opportunities to a player that is going to be a massive part of it. So I don't think, even if it doesn't go well, it's not going to backfire on the manager, because it's blindingly obvious. From an outsider, you drop a 39-year-old centre-half for one of the best young centre-backs in world football at the moment, one of the best prospects in his position, no-brainer.
You know, I agree. Look, obviously, people do have a tendency to overhype players. Like I really try not to do it, but when you but when you see players doing well and they're from the academy, do you know what I mean? You just get a little bit carried away. Like I'm sure, like not necessarily you, mate, but like you see when the Hale End boys are coming through and Arsenal fans were gassing it. Oh, you know, it's the best academy in the world. Look at all these guys we've got. Like, and not all of them have gone on to hit the heights. I don't want to get carried away and gas them up. But I guess, mate, for you, just on academy products, by the way, how important are academy players to Arsenal? Like, because I know, like, you had a few in the first team. There's not loads right now, but I mean, obviously Saka's the main one, of course, the poster. But Saka was an academy lad, wasn't he?
Yeah, Saka came through.
How important? Well. I mean, I guess they're important to all clubs, but like for Arsenal, how are they viewed? I guess they're always viewed, from my perspective, like fans give them a little bit more time and they take to them perhaps more than, say, a foreign signing, just purely because of them living the club's DNA. But yeah, I mean, how are academy players viewed at Arsenal? Is it important to have academy players in the team?
Yeah, vitally important. Like, well, Saka, Smith Rowe, and Ketia at the moment are the most well known, and they've been absolutely vital, especially Saka and Smith Rowe. They built the Arteta era up, really.
Reece Nelson academy, by the way.
Yeah, Reece Nelson through the academy as well. And do you want to know a really interesting view on this as well? Is I think how crucial the academy is for generating funds as well. It's a bit of a weird way to look at it, but some of our biggest sales recently have been like Joe Willock and Balogun, who are both academy boys.
Pure profit, mate. Don't need to talk to us about that.
What you've got to do, if you can generate quality through your academy, and the top players get into your first team, like Bukayo Saka, and then the players that don't quite make it are still quality, and you can sell them for good
mate,
funds, and that's how you generate your money. So it's
exactly
just a supply line.
Exactly the same, mate. And you know, it's mate, the academy's always twofold. This is what people don't understand. Like, people just get thinking, oh, Chelsea are, you know, or other clubs or whatever. Mate, Man City sell loads of their fucking academy products. Jadon Sancho was Man City academy. Lavia was the academy. Cole Palmer was academy there. They've sold loads of their academy players, like random guys to Ajax, random players to Southampton. You know, they constantly sell from the academy. The academy is twofold. You want the very best to get through and make it to the first team, but then you also want to produce players good enough that can make you a profit and go and have very successful careers elsewhere, like a Joe Willock, for example. Mate, we've sold so many academy players over the years. Obviously, sold Mount last summer. We've sold Tomori. We've sold Loftus-Cheek. We've sold Callum Hudson-Odoi. We've sold Dominic Solanke. We've sold Livramento, Lewis Hall. Like, loads of these guys that are very good
player, by the way.
Very good footballers, right? But maybe not good enough for Chelsea at the time, or wanted to leave because there wasn't a clear pathway for minutes. So, look, I've got no problem with making money from the academy. You know, as long as you can demonstrate as a clear pathway, and I think it's the same at every club. If you're good enough and you come through the academy, you'll play. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, like, exactly, and there's always better. That's why I go back to the point we were just saying about Colwell, is you've always got a bit more good faith with a homegrown boy. You know, if it doesn't quite go right, and if I'm Pochettino there, lean on that for a bit, because it'll buy him a bit of time. It'll buy him some goodwill. That's what Arteta did. You know, when it was going to shit with us on that game at the Emirates, when Chelsea came to the Emirates, remember, and Saka and Smith Rowe really, like, that kind of kick-started the whole era. And Arteta was borderline getting sacked at that point. Well, he wasn't, but the fans wanted him. So
mate, the fans were on him.
You know, you got that. If Pochettino does that, then that'll be smart. You know, buys you a bit of good faith with the fans.
But yeah,
look
mate,
at the stats comment. The stats comment.
Mate,
that's why I laughed in it, because I saw it.
The underlying numbers. I know it's not about underlying numbers, and you can always be selective with stats or whatever. But the underlying numbers, and it's all about points on the board. I'm fully aware of this, but like, the performance, this is when I say the performance has been better than the points we've got, this is what I mean. Like, the underlying numbers for our performances are decent. We just can't do the most important.
Against Luton, wasn't it? 97 that was against Luton.
Now, do you know what it is, right? The one thing we can't do is put the ball in the back of the net. The most important thing in football, which is why we don't score any fucking goals. Which is why we don't win many matches. But I mean, mate, to round out, score predictions. Let's start with Fulham. Let's start with your game, Bournemouth Arsenal on Saturday. I'll go first on this one. I think you'll win 2-1. I think it'll be close. Bournemouth's a tough place to go. But it depends how many of those players are back from injury and whatnot. But yeah, I think you'll shade it 2-1. I mean, Bournemouth yet to win this season, but that's got to end at some point. What are you saying for that game? Obviously, you're going. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I'm confident we'll win. I think we've won out of our last 4 there. We've won 3, drawn 1, and I'm going to say we'll keep a clean sheet. We're pretty tight away from home at the moment. We've kept.
You're better defensively away from home, aren't you?
Yeah, well, definitely. At home, we just ship them for some reason, but away from home, we're pretty rock solid. So I'm going to say we'll keep a clean sheet. So I'm going to go 2-0 to the Arsenal on Saturday.
Fair. And then Fulham Chelsea. I'll let you go first on this one, mate. What are you thinking? Monday night football at the Cottage. Chelsea actually unbeaten in their last 3 evening matches, mate. Take of that what you want to, but maybe playing in the evening suits us better, mate. Luton, Wimbledon, and fucking Brighton, mate. 3 night matches this season, 3 wins. maybe that's what's going wrong.
Luton, Wimbledon. I will go. I think Chelsea got the result last night. I think Fulham are pretty tight at the moment as well. I think they've
not many goals, but then we haven't got many goals either.
I'm gonna go 1-1. I reckon Jimenez come into a little bit of form recently. Jimenez will score, and then I'm gonna go 1-1 on Monday night.
Oh, mate, I'm gonna go for a slim 1-0 Chelsea win. I'm going to go for the 1-0, some sort of scrappy goal. But I could easily see it being 1-1 as well. But the way that we ground out the win last night just gives me a little bit of confidence that we might be able to might be able to get something done. So yeah, I'm going to go 1-0 Chelsea on that one. But yeah, guys, we're going to round out the show there. Thank you so much for tuning in, people. On the way out, guys, make sure you keep smashing the like button. It's free. It takes seconds and it massively helps out. We're 2 likes away from 50. Let's try and get that to 60 on the way out, guys. No excuses not to. So please, please, please smash the like button on your way out and hit the subscribe button if you're new around here. Webby, thanks so much for your time. As always, mate, greatly appreciated. Let's see what happens for Arsenal and Chelsea this weekend. Hopefully we'll have some good stuff to talk about on next week's show. Maybe a win for me and not a win for Arsenal, but I can't see that happening. But yeah, mate, thanks for your time as always, guys. Big up to everyone in the chat for tuning in. Smash the likes on the way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Guys, I'll be back tomorrow with the fan call-in show at 5:30, so make sure you tune in for that. But yeah, hit the like, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for tuning in as always. Catch you lot tomorrow. Up the Chelsea and peace out, people.